The staircase was not there the first time Mara walked the deer trail behind her grandmother's house. She knew the woods the way some people know a childhood scar, by touch, by memory, by the instinctive avoidance of certain turns. She could have walked blindfolded to the creek, where quartz stones glimmer like teeth, or to the stand of birch that whispered even in still air. But the staircase appeared one gray afternoon, as if the forest had decided to make a joke it wouldn't explain. It rose from the leaf mold and ferns without foundation or frame. A narrow flight of wooden steps, unfinished, weathered the color of old bone. No railing, no landing. The top step ended in nothing. The bottom step pressed into the earth as if it had always belonged there. Mara stopped. The woods were quiet, not the normal quiet of winter, but the held breath of something listening. She reached out and touched the lowest step. The wood was cold, but solid. She knocked with her knuckles and felt the dull reply vibrate up her arm. She circled it, expecting a trick of perspective to reveal a tree trunk or an old deer blind. Nothing, just the stairs, alone. She laughed, a sound too loud, and told herself there was a simple explanation she would remember later. She didn't climb them. She went home, and that night she dreamed of steps that went up forever, each one a slightly different shade of brown, like years passing. By the end of the week, other people had seen it. A boy named Caleb posted a photo to the town's forum with the caption, "What is this?" He was 16 and bored, and liked to be the first to point things out. The picture showed the staircase at dawn, fog curling around it like breath. The comments filled quickly. Jokes about witchcraft, suggestions of an art installation. Someone claiming it had been there since the 70s. They were wrong. Someone else corrected them with dates and certainty. A woman named Mrs. Hovel wrote that her husband had climbed it once, long ago, and she wished people would stop encouraging foolishness. She did not elaborate. 2 days later, Caleb climbed the staircase. Mara did not see it happen. She heard about it the way small towns hear about things, through a chain of whispers that sharpen as they pass. Caleb went out with his camera and came back changed. Not injured. Changed. He came into the diner with his friends and ordered pancakes and ate them methodically, counting each bite under his breath. When someone asked him what he'd seen, he said, "I don't know," and smiled with a peculiar gentleness. He stopped texting. He stopped sleeping, or so his mother said later, standing on her porch with eyes red and hands shaking. He stood in his room at night and whispered apologies to the walls. He enrolled early in college and left town before summer ended. He never posted again. Mrs. Hovel found Mara in the grocery store and gripped her arm hard enough to bruise. "Don't go near it," she said. "It takes something from you, or it gives you something you can't set down." When Mara asked her about her husband, Mrs. Hovel let go and stared at the apples until the scales stopped swinging. "He came back with all the things he'd forgotten," she said, and left without buying anything. By then, the staircase had a reputation, which did nothing to stop people. If anything, it made it worse. Teenagers went in groups and dared each other. A hunter climbed it at dawn and came back in the afternoon with his rifle broken clean in two and no memory of how it happened. A woman who had lost her voice to illness climbed it and returned speaking perfectly, then stopped speaking entirely 2 days later, as if she said all the words she would ever need. The forest changed around it, subtly. The deer paths bent toward it. Mushrooms grew in a ring that refused to be disturbed. Birds avoided the air above the steps. Sometimes, if you stood at the right angle, you could swear the staircase was longer than it had been yesterday, or shorter, or leaning just a fraction toward the sun. Mara tried not to think about it. She taught at the elementary school and graded papers, and went on walks that avoided the deer trail. Her grandmother watched the news with the sound off and muttered about the woods having moods. "They get ideas," she said, and stirred her tea until it went cold. Then Elias climbed it. Elias was a carpenter, new to town, with hands that smelled like cedar and glue. He had moved into the old Miller place and fixed the porch without being asked. He smiled like he was practicing for something. He and Mara met at the hardware store over a box of nails and kept running into each other after that, as if the town were small enough to conspire. They walked together, once, along the edge of the forest. They did not talk about the staircase until they were standing close enough to see it through the trees, the steps pale against the dark. Elias tilted his head. "It's well made," he said, and then laughed at himself. "At least it was... Whoever built it knew what they were doing." "You shouldn't climb it," Mara said, too quickly. He looked at her. "Have you?" "No."